and honestly, I sound nothing like what I'm actually going to talk to. How many of you have actually seen a cop show before? Cop show, Law & Order, CSI, NCIS, any of those. Okay, how many of you know what the death penalty or capital punishment is? Good. So my major proposition today is that the death penalty or capital punishment is ineffective. Because in reality it is. It costs twice as much to, why can't I say this word? It costs twice as much to sentence someone to the death penalty and actually go through with it than it does to incarcerate them for life. It actually works out to $4.64 billion over the course of all of the appeals, the trials, and the actual cost of the injection itself, as well as the $1 billion it costs to incarcerate a person. Whereas it only costs $167 a year to keep someone in prison. This means that it is costing the taxpayers, which is everyone in this room plus everyone else in the state, billions of dollars that we could be putting towards crime deterrence or education or something else that would be more helpful to our community, such as reintegration programs, trying to help people be a better part of the community rather than just killing them. It also turns the people that are administering the injections into murderers themselves, which means you've taken this murderer, you've tried them for the crime, and now 13, 15 years later, you take someone else and legally tell them you can kill this person. Which most people, when they hear that, say, oh, yeah, I want them to be put to death. They killed someone. I want them to be put to death. It doesn't end up being the smartest position because it ends up with people thinking it's okay, thinking it's a societal norm, which it really shouldn't be. A 2008 survey of police from the NC Coalition for Alternatives to the Death Penalty said that police found that the best way to deter crime was not the death penalty. A survey of police actually showed that the best tool that they have is the police force. Places that have taken away the death penalty physically see a drop in crime rates because they're focusing on keeping people out of trouble and focusing on trying to teach people the difference of right and wrong rather than just telling them, by the way, this thing you did was wrong and now we're going to kill you for it. Yeah.
What time are we?
Anybody see any good movies?
Train to Busan.
Awkward silences apparently are not tolerated here. All right. Durandy, the proposition is the clearest thing in the speech. We know what your position is. You're saying it's ineffective. Now, the question is, how are you going to measure ineffectiveness? It sounds at one point like you're going to be talking about cost, and another when it comes to whether or not it does anything about crime. So I think that's what your secondary structure is, but you don't lay that out at the beginning of the speech, and in the body of the speech, it really feels like you're wandering around on those points. It's you need some clear declarative statements to make your argument so much easier for people to follow. It just feels like I said, you're wandering around on the subject. The issue of the death penalty has been controversial for years, so there's no dispute that there's plenty of things to argue about on this particular point. I think, however, that you need to make a much stronger argument. One of the problems that I see is that your evidence is not being cited as direct quotes. It's often being presented as a paraphrase or a summary, and as a consequence, I think you make some mistakes in the way you present the evidence. I'm willing to bet that it's not $161, it's maybe $161,000 to keep a prisoner in jail for a year. I know it's not $161, because if it were, I got a couple people I'd pay the $161 for myself. That's just, I think what happens is that because you don't have the evidence cited in a direct quote, you're trying to paraphrase it or summarize it, you're missing things that are being presented here. There's a lot of information on this subject that I think is not utilized in the presentation, and you kind of rely instead on some sort of esoteric arguments, some of which kind of move into the realm of a value argument. For example, your point about the executioners becoming murderers, I think that that's really on the brink of a value claim, and from a legal point of view, it's clearly not true. So so what is the position that you're taking here? And then you would say that, and society approves of this, and why is that a bad thing? And how is that relevant to your claim, which is that the death penalty is ineffective? Because it doesn't seem particularly relevant to that particular point. So, like I said, I think that you kind of go off on some tangents on the issues, and part of the way that you go off on those tangents is that your evidence is not as specific and focused as it needs to be. And I think you need a stronger structure. The reference to the police organization, I don't want to say it's bad information, but it's the way you present it, it makes it sound like, so the police say that the best way to fight crime is the police. Wow, there's a surprise, as if that there would be some doubt about that. Now, the question about what are effective techniques for fighting crime, and in particular, the kinds of crimes that the death penalty would be applied for, I think the death penalty is probably ineffective for fighting a lot of crime. The question is it effective at fighting the crimes that it's designed to fight? And that's where you need to have much more precise information. This generic information that you have is hardly persuasive at all. All right, thank you.